Okay, and we're back. So it's the next day, and real quickly, um, I just want to go ahead and update the GitHub, because I didn't do that before. I probably should be doing that every time, or at least now that we've made some progress, right? Some significant progress. Alright, so there should be, let me get my notes, make sure. I think this is the command, git push, but no. Should be a commit, git add, git status first. So this one was suggested by IntelliJ, and I pushed a little button in there to add it or commit it. So I wonder if my commit message will include this one as well. So let's say git add git status again. Okay. Git commit m. Do I need the quotes? I think so. CRUD without DB, without database complete. Okay. Git push origin main. Yes? Okay. So it looks like I remembered what to do without having to look it up. So that's progress. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's open up the IDE. Now, hold on a second. Yes. Yeah. You're gonna go play? What did mommy say? Okay. Whoa there, baby.
You go there all by yourself? Let's fix it.
You go have fun. Okay. Had to get my updates, right? Okay. So what I was just thinking was that before I did that, I should have done a poll. And like before I started working, I should have done a poll if there were other people working on it. But it's only me, so I know nothing's changed. So it's okay. It don't matter. It don't matter. All right. Where'd my ID go? It's here. Also, I think I should start getting in the habit of like just using the terminal to open programs. But I can't remember the command. Like, there's a command to use like a $ and something with a no hang up command, no hup, to make it so. Like if I just run a program from the terminal and then I close the terminal, it'll also close the program that I started using the terminal. But if I use, I think it's a $ and then somewhere I need to type in no hang up, and that'll make it so like even if I close this terminal, it'll still run. But I need to refresh my memory on how that works. And I believe I can put that into the bash RC file, so it like automatically does that, or I can make like some kind of macro or something, whatever it's called, so I don't have to type that in every time. It's just like automatically appended to programs that I start from the terminal somehow, but we'll save that for another time. So I should be good here. I need to see what Mr. Dan Vega has to say is next on the agenda. Oh, and I forgot to start my timer. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. So I probably should have named this something different because I'm not actually working on the finance tracker, but runners, database, call it 1. I think this is called H2 database. Yeah, something like that. And I don't need that. And I'll go ahead and open Jippity on the side for when I need it. Okay.
A database. All right, module 4, talking to a database. Now, if you've been around the world of Java for a while, you know that it may not be the easiest thing to connect to a database. There's a lot of things you have to keep in mind, like when I open a connection, I have to close it. Maybe I'm working with a connection pool. I have to use some of the APIs that have been around in Java since 1.1 to access a database, and some of them are clunky, may not be the easiest things to use. I'm happy to say that Spring has many layers of abstraction for working with databases, and it's really easy to get started. In fact, the first thing that we're going to do is talk to an in-memory database, and it's super easy to get up and running. We're going to do this in our app, but I just want to show you here on the Spring Initializer. If we go into add a dependency, there is a dependency for H2 database. It says this provides a fast in-memory database that supports the JDBC API supports embedded and server modes. We're just going to use an embedded in-memory version of a database first. Again, starting to like pick up the pace a little. We're still kind of walking, but walking fast. We'll start to run in a little bit. We'll change this out to like a Postgres database. We'll introduce Docker and do a whole bunch of fun things. But for first, we're going to use the H2 database. Now to talk to the H2 database, I mentioned there are different levels of abstraction, one of which is just the JDBC API. That's what we're going to use. There's also things like Spring Data. We'll mention that in a little bit. But this is a really good place to start. It allows you to talk to the database, connect to it, talk to it using SQL. If you're coming from another like language and framework, it makes sense. If you're coming from just Java talking to a database, this is a nice level of abstraction on top of that. So I'm going to choose that as well. Why I brought you back.
I think the reason he's bringing us back here is so we can copy the dependency. Maven. Okay, wait. Make sure the version's right. Yeah, it should be good. Should be good. I believe I'm using 21. I don't know if that matters. Yes. Oh yes. JBDC, he said. He says it so fast. What? Wait, where? J. I think it was this one. I think it was that one. Yes. And the other one was H2 database. H2. Okay. Now we're going to do the explore. And then we just need these guys here. Let's just confirm.
Back here is I wanted to show you another feature of the Spring Initializer. If you go hit Explore, and actually we're in a Gradle project now, let's choose Maven. If you go hit Explore, it'll actually list out those dependencies that we need. So this one is a runtime dependency. We're not actually going to use this in production. We are going to also use the Spring Boot Starter JDBC. So this is that JDBC API that allows us to connect and talk to a database. So now I can come in and copy those dependencies.
When he said we're not going to use it in production, I think what he means is in this case, or maybe in most cases, he might use this just for like getting the program up and running and testing, and then after that he'll connect the database. I'm not sure why you wouldn't just go straight into Postgres and skip this, but I guess for learning purposes, that's why he's doing it this way, and that's why he said not in production.
Go back to my project. I'm going to open up the pom.xml.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and shove this in our POM file. And what's the problem here? Why is that a problem? Why? Why are you not found? Let's try to... Should I do this? Why? Oh. This should be like the way to do it, right? Just like he's showing. This should be like totally good scope runtime. Oh, this is why. And also, well, that's not why, but that's one of the, let's put a space here. I just really want some spaces here. Also, I need to investigate what's the deal with this warning. This warning says that there's vulnerabilities, like security vulnerabilities, which probably should not be ignored. This video that I'm following, it's a little old. It's not that old. It's only 9 months old, but I guess since then some sort of vulnerability has popped up. But like Spring is suggesting it. Like this should be suggesting good stuff only, provided the configuration options that I chose are correct, which they should be. They should be. Like, why is that duplicated? Where? Where is it duplicated? dun, dun. Let me go back up. Open, close. Open, close. Oh, do I have 2 starter tests? Oh, that would be a problem. I don't need 2 starter tests. I don't need 2 starter tests. But then where's... Man, I'm off to a bad start, aren't I? I copied the wrong thing. This is the thing I need. And maybe that's why the other one's not working, because I don't have this one. Because I need the other thing first, maybe? Let's try... Yeah, okay. They have to go together. They need each other. Which is kind of interesting. Okay. Okay, Dan.
Again, this is the Maven POM that declares our dependencies. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to paste those in. I'm going to refresh my project, and as long as nothing goes wrong, we now can take advantage of
As
those.
long as
So
nothing goes
what I'm going to do is
wrong.
I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to rerun this application, not do anything. And I want to look in here, and I see a couple of things that are going on. First, the 8085s there. Let's get rid of that. I like to run on 8080. That was just showing some configuration changes. And now we're back to 8080, and we see a few things here. It says the H2 console is available at /H2 console. Again, this is because of the Spring Boot dev tools that we've included. It sets some sensible defaults. If you don't have dev tools, you could come in here and say, hey, I want to go ahead and enable the H2 console. That's great, because we want to disable that by default. We don't want you somehow running in production with that and making that available. The H2 console, for those of you who don't know, is this nice UI that you can go ahead and visit.
I'm gonna check on the baby. I'll be right back. Baby. Baby wants to go out and play. Alright. Calm down.
In your browser and manage your database. So once we create a table and it has some columns and it has some rows, we can do all of that right in our browser. And again, this is just a good starting point, right? We see that it's available. We also see that the Hakari pool, this is the database connection pool, is configured for some URL. So when we talk about databases in Java, we have a JDBC connection using a JDBC URL. Starts with JDBC, then the type, in this case H2 memory, and then some random UUID identifying the database. So we haven't done anything yet. We just included some dependencies. And I'm happy to tell you that you are already connected to a database. Now, we haven't done anything yet, but that's how easy it is to connect to a database in Spring. Now, to get rid of this name, I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to say the H2, let's say H2, oops, sorry. I don't know what I just did, Dan. So I'm going to say the data source, generate unique name. I'm going to say, no, let's not do that. And I'm going to say the data source name is going to be runners, right? So let's go ahead and refresh the application here. Now when I look at this, I see that I have a URL of JDBC.
Okay. I need this stuff over there. I need this stuff that goes here. Yes. I don't remember where this came from. Was this like automatically in there? I don't see that in his code, so I don't know. And I don't want ultimate, thank you. This is weird because like he has H2 console enabled true, but that seems like unnecessary. Like it must be on by default because I mean like I already have it loaded up right here. I already have it. I don't think I need to put that in there. Well, let me just try this one. Because that might be something that I actually need. But before I refresh it, I'm going to see if like whatever he does works for me.
H2 mem runners. So if I wanted to, I could go ahead and copy that, but I don't need to. And what I want to do is go over to the browser and go ahead and look at localhost 8080 / H2 console, because that's the default. And you can see I have a JDBC URL, so I would copy that out of there if I didn't know it. The username is going to be SA, the password is not, there's going to be no password.
Okay. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's why he put that in there. Let's go back, Dan. Let's go back to what he had. Let's shoot this back over here. So let's go ahead and put that stuff in. So Spring H2 console enabled equals true. Why is mine orange? Okay. Spring, oh yeah. Spring data source generate unique. Is that a dash? Probably. Name equals false. Okay, now mine looks like his. Let's rerun it. I should have saved first. Let's refresh this. Okay.
But I don't need to. And what I want to do is go over to the browser and go ahead and look, but I don't need to. And what I want to do is go over to the
URL
browser
Huh.
and go ahead and look at localhost and see I have a JDBC URL. So I would copy that out of there if I didn't know it. The username is going to be SA, the password.
So apparently, I don't know why maybe that's something to do with the ultimate version. I don't know. I'm gonna need to put that in there.
Password is not, there's going to be no password if I didn't. And you can see I have a JDBC URL. So I would copy that out of there if I didn't know it. The username is going to be SA, the password is not, there's going to.
What is SA? Super admin? Super admin? Okay. Okay.
going to be no password. I can test that connection. I can connect to it now. And now I have this UI where I can play around with my embedded in-memory database. Now remember, in-memory means every time we restart the application, everything is going to change. But now we have a database. Now there's no tables in here. We'll change that in a second. But there's no tables in here. There's no data in here. But we have something to get up and running with. So now what we need to do is we need to be able to like create a schema and say, hey, this is what my runner's table is going to look like. And then we need to create some code that will allow us to persist and read information from that database. All right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to be able to create a schema for that database. Now again, it restarts every time the application restarts. So I want to have some way of automatically creating the schema, and Spring provides the mechanism for that. What you do is come under Resources, create a new file, and we'll call this schema.sql. This is a specific name that we're looking for by convention. We're looking for this file. When it's an embedded database, we're always going to run this for you. So I'm going to paste in some schema here. This is going to create a new table if it doesn't exist. And this lines up with the
Paste this in from where? Where do you get that from?
going to run this for you. So I'm going to paste in some schema here. This is going to create a new table if it doesn't exist.
Do I need to do this, Dan? I better keep watching first.
And this lines up with the run record that we created earlier. It has ID, title, started on, completed on, and notice that the way that this naming convention is, so we use the camel case in the record. This is using snake case here. I believe that's it. I always get those confused. And that's how we're going to name the fields or the columns in our table. So it started on, completed on, miles, location. The primary key is the ID. So with this in place, I'm going to just restart the application. In some schema here, this is going to create a new table if it doesn't exist. And this lines up with the run record that we created earlier. It has ID, title, started on, completed on, and notice that the way that this naming convention is, so we use the camel case in the record. This is using snake case here. I believe that's it. I always get those confused.
Is it Pascal or is it snake? Snake case versus I think there's one called Pascal versus camel. Yep. What about, oh, all lowercase, okay. Pascal, okay. He's right.
And that's how we're going to name the fields or the columns in our table. So it started on the name case. So we use the camel case in the record. This is using snake case here.
It's the only one
that's
with two words. Okay.
And that's how we're going to name the fields or the columns in our table. So it started on, completed on, my.
So the question is, do all types of SQL databases use snake case? Do all types of databases, we'll just use that, including H2 or SQL flavors, use snake case? No. But these ones, yes. No SQL camel case. Everybody's got their own little dealie. Okay, so H2 is snake case as well as Postgres and MySQL.
Miles, location, the primary key is the ID. So with this in place, I'm going to just restart the application again. Let's go back to our browser and take a look at this. We'll have to log in again. That's okay though. Once we log in, now we see a run table. Now we can do stuff with the table. We can put data in there. We can read from it. We can do this here in the UI, but I want to do this programmatically in our applications. How can we do that? So first off, let's go ahead. And I think what we'll do is we'll go back to the run repository. Now in the final code that you can get on GitHub, there'll be two different versions of this, the in-memory one, the JDBC one. For simplicity's sake, I'm just going to keep this run repository as it is. And I'm going to delete all of this, right? So let's just say all of that is gone. That's okay. This is going to cause some issues in our run controller. So I'm going to basically comment out everything for now. But we still have a run repository. So now what we want to do is we want to be able to talk to that database. So how do we do that? We want to do. But we still have a run repository. So now what we want to do is we want to be able to talk to that database. So how do we do that? Well, we've already have a connection to the database. We just need a way.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I need to do everything that he just did. I don't think he's gonna like go back and undo that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna back this up. I'm gonna back this up as it is. I thought I had a backup. Is that this one? It is. I think. I'm gonna delete that one. I really should be doing this in the terminal though, huh? Okay, next time I will do this in the terminal. You know what, I'll do it now. I'll do it now. I need to learn the terminal. I must learn the terminal. But first I need to know how to delete. Well, I could just delete the whole folder and make a new one. And I know how to do that. cd.ls. Okay. Remove -rf. Runners.get. Do I need sudo for that? I do not. Let's go. Okay. Make dir runners backup, or we'll call this runners. What do you want to call this? In-mem for in-mem-db. Yes? Yes. Maybe that's okay. ls? Sure. Okay. Now how do I copy? Let's ask ChatGPT that, because I don't know. How do I make a copy of a directory and put that directory in another location using Linux terminal? CP command. Oh yeah, so -rf is recursive with force. CP recursive. So CPR -r path to source, and then path to destination. Okay. Okay. Give me my terminal back. Okay. CP. Now how do I do that? Do I need the little dealie there? I think I probably do. But wait, no. I'm already in here. So I can just do CP runners. Is that right? Wait, path to... Let's just try it like this. Oh. Oops. Whoops. Most important part, I suppose. There's nothing in there. What? What happened? Oh, 2 Z's. I did 2 Z's. I fumbled the ball, fellas. Okay. Remove RF runners in mem db. Ah ha 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 ha. Why? You gotta spell correctly if you want to use the terminal, buddy. Whoa. Whoa. I really gotta switch to like a real keyboard. Maybe there's a way to like disable the touchpad. I wish there was a way. There probably is a way. Because I think that's what's happening to me sometimes. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Now let's try this command again with the right spelling. No. This one. Without the extra Z. ls runners in mem db ls. What? Runners. Rough morning for me. Rough morning. Alright, I'm in the right spot now. Yes. So it copied the whole folder inside of this folder, which is not exactly what I wanted. I wanted the contents of that folder. So I probably should have CD'd into runners. Before doing it. Let's find out. Let's find out. But first, let's check this. Everything's in there. Alright. Remove RF runners in memdb. Oh ho 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 db. Okay. Now we're going to go into runners. And now we're going to copy how do I do that though? I don't think that's going to work. Hold on. I need an answer here. Copy of a directory. Okay, let's ask it a different. How do I instead copy all the contents of a folder? into a different folder. With a wildcard. Okay. Okay. Will that create a new directory if the destination path does not exist? No, it will not. Okay. If I wanted to back up a folder, by copying it and renaming it, what is the most efficient way? Using CP with the wildcard to copy into a newly created folder. Efficient one-liner. It's called a one-liner. How about that? You got any good one-liners, buddy? Combine directory, and I think in Linux there's something with the bar where you can combine two commands into one. I'm gonna ask that in a second here. Okay, copy recursively the source directory that includes the folder itself to backup name. Wait a minute. The new folder with the backup name. I don't think it's telling me what yeah, I think this is what I want to do, this one with the wildcard. rsync. rsync. Path to source. Okay. Trailing slash ensures only the contents are copied. Okay, so it sounds like rsync is the way to go with this. We want to use rsync. Hey, you got any efficient one-liners, buddy? Alright, what do we have right now? We're in runners. Let's cd ls. Boy, GPT, it's just funny sometimes, right? Okay, so we want rsync. Do I have rsync? There's an fsync too? It looks like I have rsync. Alright, so I want to rsync the directory with a slash. What does the A do? Does it say it right here? verbose archive. Okay. I don't know what that is yet, but alright, let's try this. rsync. I think this means home. I think this means projects. This means runners with a Z and a slash. And then we want to put that into projects, runners. We're not going to call it backup. We're going to call it mem db. memdb. Yes. Why didn't that work? Why? It just said skipping directory. And nothing happened. What even happened? Maybe I needed the slash. Maybe I needed the slash. Oh, you know what? You know what I just did? I did something dumb, I think. Using this, this thing here, I think. So let's do this. CD there. Now I'm here. Where's that? That is home. It looks like there's two, like, hidden folders here. ls-l. I'm confused about that. Let's ask another question. How to show hidden files in ls and folders. -a. -a. ls-l-a. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. CD slash. The slash is the root. Okay. CD. I'm just gonna do this the way that seems easiest for now. Let's just do it like a home projects. What? No? No. Why not? Huh. So home goes here. Got to get used to this. And then the one with my username has this in it. Okay. Okay. What did it say? What did it say in ChatGPT again? It just says path to doc. And this just used the little tilde thing. I didn't have a problem. Alright. I don't think. I'm gonna have to figure that out later. I'm just gonna do it with the cp command. So cd projects ls. Oh, it's there. It's there now. Did I just have to like move out of the folder for a second? Why wasn't it showing up? Oh, there's nothing in here. There ain't nothing in there. What? Say what? Okay. CP runners. Do I do slash? Wait. Oh boy. Okay. Slash star. Okay. So that should be good. Alright. That took a while, but I really do need the practice, so. I'm gonna need to take a short break, and then I'll be back. I'm just gonna pause this so I don't have to end the video. Okay, and I'm back. Real quickly before so I backed up the folder just in case I, wanted a copy of things before switched it over to the database. The cat wants some attention again, of course. When you have a bunch of kids and pets, and a wife, obviously, someone always wants your attention. I may have to get her in a second. I just wanted to ask about rsync. What does rsync do? Does it automatically update or back up files later when changes are made? Oh man, we don't want that. This is like Git. Oh, it must be run manually. Okay. Okay, so it should be good as long as I don't tell it to do it again. And for some reason it didn't. I don't know if it worked or it didn't. Like I had to like when I moved out of the directory and came back, it was there, but there was nothing in it though, which was also weird. So maybe I didn't type the right command. Whatever command I typed, it was just like it created the folder, but it didn't copy anything into it because of I had a bad source. So I should be good, and even if I'm not, it's not going to be like the end of the world, right? I don't think so. I don't think it will be the end of the world. Okay. Let's get Dan back here. Let's get Dan back here.
Way to programmatically access it.
So,
So I meant just of them. Let's go ahead. We do that. So, in our go ahead. We do off with our just restart the application.
So I need this. I'm gonna move this off screen and copy it over manually. Where's my schema? So that's in resources, and I need to create a schema because I don't see. Did he do that? I don't remember seeing him do it either. New. How do I do schema? How do I do that, Dan?
Now again, it restarts every time the application restarts. So I want to have some way of, what we can do is come under resources, create a new file, and we'll call this schema. What we can do is, this is a new file, and we'll call this schema.sql.
Okay. So it's not built in, which is weird. It is weird. Schema.squeal. I want to do it manually. I want to do this manually. I'm going to do it manually. Okay, Dan.
This is a split data here, lines up with the.
Okay. He's got like an indent like already in there. I don't know why. Shouldn't need that. Create table if not exists. Run. Create a table if it doesn't exist. And then run this stuff? Is that what it's saying? Is that what it's saying? ID. Int not null. I don't know what that means. Title. Varchar. 250. Don't know what that means either. We need to learn this stuff at some point. Started on timestamp must be. Maybe it means it must not be null. Completed on. Also a timestamp. We also don't want it to be null. I guess that's what that means. It's like a validation, I suppose. Not null. Location. Yeah, so this will be like the type. Characters. Maybe this is like the maximum amount of characters. dun 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 dun. Definitely gonna have to learn. Oh, SQL syntax. Primary key. So if I'm looking up entries, that's the way to do it. By the ID, I reckon.
The run record that we created earlier. It has ID, title, started on, completed on, and notice that the way that this naming convention is, so we use the camel case in the record. This is using snake case here. I believe that's it. I always get this confused. And that's how we're going to name the fields or the columns in our table. So it started on, completed on, miles, location. The primary key is the ID. So with this in place, I'm going to just restart the application again. Let's go back to our browser and take a look at this. We'll have to log in again. That's okay though. Once we log in, now we see a run table. Now we can do stuff with the table.
Does it work? I suppose. I got this stuff on the other screen, but since you guys can only see that, I should get used to like alt tabbing again. Dun 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 dun. That would be. Whoa, why not? Bam. Refresh. Connect.
Some way of what we can do is come under. This is when it started. That's how it started on our. We log in. Now we see a run table.
Okay.
Now we can do stuff with the table. We can put data in there. We can read from it. We can do this here in the UI, but I want to do this programmatically in our applications. How can we do that? So first off, let's go ahead. And I think what we'll do is we'll go back to the run repository. Now in the final code that you can get on GitHub, there'll be two different versions of this, the in-memory one, the JDBC. Now I'm going to delete all of this, right? Repository as it is. Now I'm going to delete all of this, right? So let's just say all of that is gone.
All he's got is the run, the initialization of the runs list. I kind of want to comment it out like he did with the other one. I kind of don't want to delete it. I'll feel like too sad. Even though I have a backup. What are you doing? Even though I have a backup. Even though.
That's okay. This is going to cause some issues in our run controller. So I'm going to basically comment out everything for now.
Again, like, I don't know why he deleted the one, but then he commented out. Can I do arrows? Oh, I can. I can do arrows. That's nice.
but we still have a run repository. So now what we want to do is we want to be able to talk to that database. So how do we do that? Well, we've already have a connection to the database. We just need a way to programmatically access it. I mentioned there are different layers of abstraction in Spring. If you see some older code online, it's not that old. I mean, before 3.2, we still use the JDBC template. But if you see some older code and you see something called the JDBC template, this was really an abstraction on top of the JDBC APIs that made it easier to talk to a database. In 3.2, we got something called the JDBC client. This simplified that abstraction and really gave us this nice fluent API for working with databases.
It just rolls off the tongue for him. JBDC client, JBDC clients.
So what does that mean to us? Actually, I don't even need this for now. One thing I'm going to do is get a logger real quick. So we talked about this earlier. I just have a logger that I can use to log in my class here. I'm going to declare a JDBC client.
Okay,
So
I can't do the
JDBC
tabbing
client
thing.
will get this through construct.
I can't do the tabbing thing. I like looking at stuff on the other screen. I feel like blind. Okay. He's in the repository, not the controller. Now he's got a logger in here now, too. I can't see it because his portrait is in the way.
Do we do that? Spring still use template that made client. Went into a logger real quick. So we talked about this earlier. I just have a log.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. I can't see the code. You're in the way. You're in the way. He got rid of his list of runs, too?
So what does that mean to us? Actually, I don't even need this for now.
Okay. He also got rid... Oh, man.
One thing I'm going to do is get a logger real quick. So we talked about this earlier. I just have a logger that I can use to log in my class here. I'm going to declare a JDBC client. So JDBC client will get this through constructor injection. What this means is, we saw this earlier, right? So this is dependency injection. Because we added...
Can't listen to what he's saying while I'm typing this. Git logger. So I don't know. I can see that it says run repository, but I don't know like if it's just this. That doesn't work. That also doesn't work. His is not showing up red, I know that.
Added that JDBC goes,
See
hey,
if he's
see
gonna show the
here
code.
evidence of it down. We see
Oh.
quick sources, the JDBC client. Let's take a look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and download sources as well as dig SQL, do other money that we had in our in-memory to find all
Okay.
of the...
He finally moved his head out of the way. So it is .class. It is .class. Private static final logger log. Logger factory .get logger. I was taught finals should be all caps. I don't know why he's not doing that. I guess not always. They're not always supposed to be all caps. Private final JBDC client. I need to import that. Oh, I need, wait, but I have that. I have that dependency. Do I not? Dude, what happened? How did I not? It's just starter JBDC. Oh, what? That's over here. Let me get this over here. Starter. Oh, I don't remember. I don't know why he. I'm just gonna blame myself. It must be something I did wrong. It must be. What? What? JB capital J BDC client. Why? Why? Do I need to have all the code? No. It should be working. Should be working. Close. The one he got was starter JBDC. Starter JBDC. Did I not put that in there? Why? JBDC. J. I mean, it's possible I need this, right? He didn't do that, though. Why didn't he do it? And why do I need to do it? Do I need to refresh this? Is that why? But, like, why, Dan? Why?
C API that allows us to connect and talk to a database. So now I can come in and copy from it. We can do a different version, keep this run repository with the program automatically. The next is to we should embed can see you some random you type Spring Boot starts it's embedded and server. Again, running a whole bunch of database. I mentioned there are different levels. That's what we're going to use. There's also things like Spring Data. We'll mention that in a little bit. But this is a really good place to start. It allows you to talk to the database, connect to it, talk to it using SQL. If we're just Java, so I'm going to initializer. If you go hit Explore, is a sets here and say, hey, I want to go ahead and enable the H2 connector. Running in production with that. And again, this is that DBC type in the. And you can see I have name is going to be connect to it memory database to change. But there's no now what we need. I always get those confused. And that's how it started. So I'm going to basically comment on, but we still haven't simplified that apping. When you ask for an instance of it here in the controller, it will pass it to you. You don't need to create one. So we have an instance of a JDBC client. What is a JDBC client?
This is not happening for me. Why? Why? Let me just try to get the code in there first. Maybe this is needed for some reason. Why, Dan? Do I need the Spring Data? It's so slow. What in the world? Spring Data. Oh. Spring Data, Java, Maven, 3.4. Explore. Starter data. Okay. Okay. Why? Not found. Why? Okay, that worked. But why not here? Still no. Still a bunch of no. Still a bunch of no. So that didn't work. Let's get rid of it. Why doesn't this work? He does have an import here that I don't have. Why isn't it just asking me to import it? He has an import. Something's going on with my client. because his imports, he's got his package, and then he's got import post construct, then he's got logger, org, slf, whatever, 4j, logger. Well, what happens if I take this out now? Does that work? Does that work now? Interesting. Interesting. Then after this, he's got I don't know why IntelliJ is not suggesting it like it normally does. Spring Framework, JB DC. That's not allowed. Simple. JBDC client. He's got this here. Which would make sense. Except for the fact that it's not working. Find jar on the web, why? Why? Let's ask ChatGPT. In this code, the JBDC client in the private final declaration cannot be resolved. I am following a tutorial where this is working for the teacher, but not for me. I have included the H2 and JBDC API dependencies as instructed in the tutorial. I have synced Maven as well, but it still is not working. Why? Typo? What? I'm spelling it wrong this whole time. This whole time. It's not JBDC. What? Okay. Maybe this will help. If Dan said it a little bit slower. Also, what does it stand for? What does JDBC stand for? Oh, it's already there. database connectivity. Yeah, it already answered it. This is why reading is such an important skill. JDBC client. JDBC client. So that's even harder to say fast. JDBC. 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 Wait, what? What happened? What happened? Oh, it's still backwards. I could have swore I just fixed that. Why? Why now? What? Why? Oh man. Good Lord. What a nightmare that was.
Client, let's take a look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and download sources. A Fluent JDBC client with common JDBC query and update operations
This is so fast.
supporting all the JDBC style positional as well as string style name parameters with a common unified facade for JDBC prepared statement execution. So it gives some examples in here. You can dig through here. You can look at the structure of this and find out, hey, there's a SQL, a create, a very simple API. From there, we can do other things. So let's use this to kind of replace the functionality that we had in our in-memory repository. So I want to be able to find all of the runs in the database. So what we're going to do is say I want a list of runs, and we'll call this find all. And how are we going to get that? We're going to use that JDBC client dot, and now the first thing that we need to do is use some SQL. So we're going to have some SQL, and we're going to say select star from run, right? Oops. And once we do that, I want to go ahead and map the results to something. So run that query and map the results to a run. And oh yeah, go ahead and return a list of things back to me. So I don't have an actual connection to the in-memory database here from my database tools. So it's going to just give you an error here, but that's okay. We have a connection.
I gotta
Everything
hear
is going
Dan
to be
say that
working.
again.
And all. And how are we going to get that? We're going to use that JDBC client, dot, and now the first thing that we need to do is use some SQL. So we're going to have some SQL, and we're going to say select star from run, right? Oops. And once we do that, I want to go ahead and map the results to something. So run that query and map the results to a run. And oh yeah, go ahead and return a list of things back to me. So I don't have an actual connection to the in-memory database here from my database tools. So it's going to just give you an error here, but that's okay. We have a connection. Everything is going to be working. So I have a way to find all. This is good. But I also don't have any runs in my database. So how can I fix this? So another thing you can do is you can come in here and say, I want to go ahead and insert some data. So you can use data.sql.
Okay, so he's doing that here.
Now this is, you're gonna have to write SQL to insert data. So I don't do this a lot, but I'm gonna do this just for this kind of demonstration.
Why not?
Later on, we'll do this programmatically. We can add some data through some code. All right, and I'm just gonna paste this in. So we're inserting into run. Here are our columns, here are
Just go paste it in. Insert into run. So I think what Dan's saying is he doesn't normally code in the SQL. Oh man, making it hard on me. Oh, his dates are 2017, but this video's from 9 months ago. I guess he... Oh 0101 6:30 in the morning. Those single quotes? Wait, it's hard to see. Those are single quotes. I don't know if that matters. But just in case. 2017 dash 01 dash 01 space 7 in the morning. Just a nice little short run. That should be good.
our values. Let's go ahead and try and run our application. And there we go. Now we have a single run in this.
I also have a logger here though. Did he remove that? So he's confused. He must be confused. Because this is not the same run. Let me show you what he's talking
System.
about.
So
He's confusing.
here are our columns, here are our values. Let's go ahead and try and run.
So look at the dates, 2017, right? And it's morning run,
On
right?
our application, and there we go. Now we have a single run in the system.
Now I don't know what he means. If he's talking about this one is not this one, if that's what he's talking about. Maybe he's not talking about that one. Maybe he's just saying, hey, here we go, it didn't crash. Maybe that's what he means.
So with some data in the system and a schema in place, now I should be able to come to my run controller.
I should check this not there, but here. Wait a minute. So I don't know how this works. Query the table. Select star from run. So yeah, I don't even know how to do that yet. Let's just let Dan take it away.
Uncomment that out. We're using the same run repository.
Uncomment out the get mapping. For find all.
We've just changed that code in the repository. Be able to come to my run controller, uncomment that out. We're using the same run repository. Uncomment that out.
Can I control slash this to comment this? Oh boy. I didn't know you could do that.
Out. We're using the same run repository. We've just changed that code in the repository to actually pull from the database. So now, this is probably restarted by now. We should be able to just go over to the browser and go to localhost 8080. So we can go to localhost 8080/API/runs, and there's our single run in.
I don't like that slash. So this is the one.
The system, but now we're pulling from a database. So this is exciting. We've moved on from this in-memory representation to storing some things in the database. Now remember, every time we change our code, it's going to restart the application, and the data is going to kind of reset itself. But
Because this H2 is in memory, it's not like separate.
we're making some progress. We're doing some fun things
Right.
here. So now I want to go through and talk about some more methods that we can write in our repository. So I'm going to go to our run repository, and I'm just going to paste in some methods here because we can talk through them. We don't need to watch me type all of them out. But let's go ahead. We have that find all. What about in an instance where we want to find a single run? Remember in our in-memory representation, we returned an optional run. We can do the same here. We can say, okay, here's the SQL. I want you to find these columns from run where
Hold on. He's in the repository now. Did he uncomment everything? What in the world? I thought he deleted all that one. Wait a minute, Dan.
the runs in the database. So what we're going to do is say, I want a list of runs, and we'll call this find all. And how are we going to get that? We're going to use that JDBC client, dot, and now the first thing that we need to do.
Okay. So the old one just returned runs. So I'm not going to uncomment. He's making a new one. And I think he let Copilot fill in like everything. That's what it looked like he did. JDBC client.
JDBC client dot, and now the first thing that we need to do is use some SQL. So we're going to have some SQL, and we're going to say select star from run, right? Oops. And once we do that, I want to go ahead and map the results to something. So run that query and map the results to a run. And oh yeah, go ahead and return a list of things back to me. So I don't have an actual connection to the in-memory database here from my database tools. So it's going to just give you an error here, but that's okay. We have a connection, everything.
Is that not the same thing that we did here? Wait a minute. What in the world am I watching? Did I go back too far? I went back too far. This is what I already did. I think I need another cup of coffee.
Is going to be working. So, and in my database. So how can I fix this? So another database. Let's go back over to
I went back too far.
create. So run controller here and do this be repository. After the application has started. If you're a little bit new to Java, a function will run, and if we wanted to look at the database here, but so I know that my API from my controller level is still working, but now we're talking to a database. So let's go back over to here and go to H2 console. And if we wanted to look at the database here, we can click on run, and we see our one run. How are we going to get that? We're going to use that JDBC client. Once we log in, tell you that you are our system BC. So this is that JDBC API. For those of you who don't know, is this nice. I don't know what I just did, Dan. There's no data in here, Dan. But we have something to get up and running. So now what we need to do is we need to be able to like create a schema and say, hey, this is what my runners tables persist, naming this. So I'm going to basically comment on, we still haven't simplified that abstraction with JDBC client with common JDBC query as well. And how are we client? All right, and I'm just gonna paste this, go ahead, run. Now I shout out to Tori to actually pull from the database. So now, this is probably restarted by now. We should be able to just go. So change that. Now I should be able to come to my run controller, uncomment that out. We're using the same run repository.
All right. I don't know how I got so confused there. So I did that.
We've just changed that code in the
That's
repository
this.
to actually pull from the database. So now, this is probably restarted by now. We should be able to just go over to the browser and go to localhost 8080. So we can go to localhost 8080/API/runs, and there's our single run in the system. But now we're pulling from a database. So this is exciting. We've moved on from this in-memory representation
Let's just double check that. Yes.
to storing some things in the database. Now remember, every time we change our code, it's going to restart the application and the data is going to kind of reset itself. But we're making some progress. We're doing some fun things here. So now I want to go through and talk about some more methods that we can write in our repository. So I'm going to go to our run repository, and I'm just going to paste in some methods here because we can talk through them. We don't need to watch me type all of them out.
Like that? This is where it messed me up. This is where you messed me up, Dan. Oh, you gotta paste everything in all fast like that. It ain't cool, Dan.
Paste in some methods here because we can talk through them. We don't need to watch me type all of them out.
Okay, Dan.
But let's go ahead.
wanna
We
watch
have
you
that
type about
find
it.
all. What about in an instance where we want to find a single run? Remember in our
At least keep your screen steady so I can see what you're doing. Figure out what it means after. Okay. So that's that. And then he's got public optional run. Now, let's compare this before we... This find all just returned runs. This find all uses the JDBC client. It returns a list of runs by using this command in SQL. Now, where does it connect to the database exactly? Is that here? No, it should be in the repository, should it not? We have this schema that creates a table. Supported by Ultimate. Good lord, I really need to... Oh, I need to switch to like a different editor at some point. Real quick. I wonder if ChatGPT will tell me how much. How much is IntelliJ Ultimate? Yeah, it's so expensive. It's like wildly expensive. I'm no longer a student. if you're an open source contributor, it's free. I mean, if I get a nice paying job, maybe, but I really want to learn NeoVim. It's really where I want to get to. Okay. Okay. So how is this working? How do the moving parts fit together? How is it? I think it's mostly between these two, right? I mean, the dependency brings the stuff in that we need. The schema creates a table somehow, I guess, with the dependencies. The data puts stuff in the table. Data squeal. The controller, we didn't do anything but uncomment that. It's just handling a request. This one is creating a repository that is annotated as a repository. So Spring is looking at this and saying, hey, you have a repository here. And this constructor uses the JDBC client. Whoa, why do I have two of these? I don't want two of these. I don't want two of these. I'm supposed to have one. Dan said what? Okay. Now it should only be one instance. You know, like this would be running on a server, right? So every time the program runs on the server, it's going to make a new client. And if we have a database stored on the server, that would persist and it would link up to it using this client. So client could be like a new client every time the server gets rebooted or whatever. I assume. Now, that client can inject squeal code into the database. Does it go into this schema or this data file? I mean, that is the data, right? It's querying run.class. Run. We had something called class. I guess it was just this one. Run repository.class. Is this the run? Oh, okay. It's this run. It's this run where we said, what is it comprised of? That's what he was saying. Okay. That's what Dan was saying it does. And I think I get it now. And then this is like a to list. Do that, and then it's like a to list method. All of them. Take all of them, put them in a list. Which is this one. A list of runs. That's returned by this find all method. That the controller calls here and returns it. What? Wait a minute. It returns it by calling it. Well, why does it gotta be inside of? It's the same kind of deal, but it's calling it over there because we want it separated from our controller, I guess. Alright, let's go to the optional. Optional run. Find by capital. ID capital. Integer ID, and actually, yeah, let's compare it again. So this one returns runs.stream, a stream of runs, because we're modifying it. We're modifying it by filtering it. And also finding the first one that matches this condition. Okay. But this one is going to do something different. This one, it is going to find by ID, but how is it going to do it? It's going to return a call to the JDBC client. JDBC. What is that again? Java database connectivity? Bleh. How do you even say these words in a sentence? Where you at? Where you at? Database connectivity. Java database connectivity. Java database connectivity. I almost just want to call it Java database client. Man, too many hard to say letters. Dot squeal. It's going to call that. It's going to call up that client, it's going to have it use some SQL command to select all of these things. Why are there no spaces? I like spaces. His are like this, like, bam, no space. I need a space. I need room to breathe here. Okay. Completed on miles, location. And we need to get that from, not a comma, no comma. Let me full screen it on my other screen. Whoa, okay. From run where ID is equal to, no, equals ID. Okay. We're going to come down here, we're going to do at param. I wonder why we need that. Why do we need that? Maybe Dan will explain it. Maybe Dan will explain why we need that param. So this is the same thing as above. We're not going to need a list this time. We're going to need an optional. Just like before. It's a little weird because when I see the parameter, you know, we're searching by ID. That's passed in. Here it is right here. But then it's also saying where ID equals ID. So like, doesn't this do it already? Why do we need this one? Alright, now we need to create public void create run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. Here's another thing too, like I noticed people use the var keyword a lot in Java, but like when I was in school they taught us we could use it, but they never had us use it. It was always like explicitly typed. Because what is it going to be? It's going to be a run. Why don't we just call it run? I don't know. It looks like, yeah, because we're creating a run. Right? Why do we gotta call it a var? Squeal. Insert into run. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. Yes? Yes. I need to just copy this here. ID title, yep. I'm not going to type all that in again. I'm not going to type it in this time. Okay. Pom 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 pom. Values. So it depends on the case, what was sent in. The values are questionable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that sounds right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I think I see why there was no spaces before, because this is a long line of code. It's a long line of code. This one is params plural. List of. Run.id. It's all the, okay. Just like last one, only more verbose. Yes. 1 second. run.title. Okay. Why is all this showing up here? There's a lot of things to show up. Run.started on. Run.completed on. Run. Oh. Why is that? Oh boy. Run.miles. Run.location. But it needs to be two-string. Why doesn't the title have to be two-string? Oh, because it's an enumeration? Is that why? Okay. Then we're going to call update. So, is that a client, JDBC client method? It looks like it. Yeah. We're calling it a statement spec. Okay. And then we're going to assert state. It takes a boolean and a string. It's a void method. Import baby. The expression is updated is equal to 1. So that means that you did something. You updated something. Message. No, we're not going to type message. We're going to type a message. So I guess, okay, the boolean is if updated is equal to 1. If that's false, I suppose, then it's going to say failed to create run. Where is it going to say that? I don't know. And what run are we talking about? Okay. That's all I can see on the screen.
In memory representation, we return an optional run. We can do the same here. We can say, okay, here's the SQL. I want you to find these columns from run where ID is equal to ID. So we're using a named parameter here.
Now he is explaining it. I'm going to take a quick break and get another cup of coffee. So let me pause the video. Where are you at, OBS? I'm just going to give it the good old pause. Okay. That short coffee break turned into a full-on lunch break and errand running. But I'm back now. And this is where we left off. We were just basically copying the stuff. He copied, Dan had copied and pasted basically some CRUD functionality into the repository. I don't know if that's the right words to use. but eventually void create. So these ones are the ones that were commented out. These will probably stay the same, at least for the most part, I assume. But these need to be updated. I might be able to just get I am curious. I want to see on his GitHub if the final version with the Postgres database has the same methods. I could copy and paste them in there, but let me actually get the URL from here. Copy link address. Whoa, why is that so long? Source? No, wait, is that right? Is it this one? And it's run, yep. Is it run repository? What? Wait a minute, that's an interface. Hold on. Hold up a second. Runners run repository. Runners run repository. Runners run repository. So his has been organized differently. I wonder if he'll have us do that step by step. I wonder why it's separated. So this is the one we just did. This is the one we're working on. Yes. These should be. By the way, so we've been living. We moved in with my wife's cousins. My wife's family, they own a decent amount of property here near Baguio City, Philippines, up in the mountains. I'm gonna have to go. Hold on. They need my help. Let me pause this. I'm back.
Are you gonna do another video scene?
It's recording right now.
Oh.
If you put your shirt on, you can say hello. I don't know why you're taking it off. Do your schoolwork.
Oh, my back.
Okay, so Jinsela,
Yeah.
you're in here to do your schoolwork. Do your schoolwork. Fix up your area nice and neat. And I'm going to be doing my work over here, okay? I share my office with my son for, well, he does his homeschooling. But usually I'm working when he's not. You come over here, put your shirt on and come say hello.
I'm hot.
Why you took it off?
I'm hot.
Well, if you want to say hello, you put on your shirt. You don't need to be
I feel hot.
looking all like that.
I'm hot, okay?
Are you going to come say hello or what? I need to get to work too.
Hey.
That's Jan Silo. Okay. Fix up your area, all that. And do
What's
your
this
work.
name?
Okay, so it looks like these methods are going to be what I need. So because this video is already 2 hours long, I'm not going to type this in manually. I should be able to copy all this in. let's just make sure that's what Dan wants us to do right now. Where are you at, Dan?
We can set that parameter by calling .param. The param name is ID. We is to paste, but it's here because the run repository. And I'm just going to paste in some methods here because we can talk through them. We don't need to watch me type all of them out. But let's go ahead. We have that find all. What about in an instance where we want to find a single run? Remember in our in-memory representation, we returned an optional run. We can do the same here. We can say, okay, here's the SQL. I want you to find these columns from run where ID is equal to ID. So we're using a named parameter here. We can set that parameter by calling .param. The param name is ID. Here's what I want you to pass.
All right, pause again. All right, he's got find by ID, create, and update. Those appear to be the same. And my machine is super hot right now. Okay. The fan that I have doesn't really do anything.
Pass to it. That is the ID that we got from the argument. I want you to map this to a run. So we have our run. And then I want you to return an optional. So it's a good way to find by ID. Now you'll notice I'm naming these the same as I did in the in-memory representation. So that if these are in place, our controller should just work exactly the same.
Yep, I
Now
noticed
again,
that.
this is for demo purposes, but I thought it was fun. Now, to create, update, and delete, we are using something called update in JDBC. Update is basically, hey, I'm either inserting something,
I think I already typed that in manually. I already got that one.
updating something, or I am deleting something. And what happens from that is here's the SQL that we're going to run, here's the values I'm getting passed in, I pass in a list of params, I call update. What is returned from update is how many rows were affected. So in this case, we actually want to make sure only one row was affected. If it didn't, here's the message that you could, rows were, I call update. What is returned from update is how many rows were affected. So in this case, we actually want to make sure only one row was affected. If it didn't, here's the message that you could send back. So
What does it mean by rows? One run. I guess row is the run is in rows, and then the columns is the ID title, the components.
So again, update, we're just making sure one is updated. Delete, we're just making sure one is deleted. We're able to count. We're able to, I wrote like a save all method if we want to save a bunch of them. And then just a custom.
Okay. Which one are we going to? Let's just go here and put it in there. Save all. understand the save all. Find by location. Select run from run where location is equal to location. Okay. So any of them, it'll replace a whole list of run, or it'll return a list of runs that are either indoor or outdoor. I don't understand the save all. Oh, okay. So you could create a whole list of runs, I suppose. You're going to pass in a list of runs, and it will create all of them at once. That must be what that is doing.
Query like, hey, find me all of the ones by the location. So this is, again, if you've never done anything in Spring and just worked with databases in Java, this should look pleasantly familiar. It's a little bit easier to read. You get this nice fluent API. And if you've not done a lot of work with Java in databases and you're coming from another language, I think you should be able to get dropped into this and understand what's going on. So what I want to do is go back to our run controller and uncomment all of these out.
That's what I thought.
Great.
That is what I thought. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay, Dan.
We'll restart our application. And what I want to do now is take a look at our collection of things here and say, let's go ahead and run all of these. I want to run all of these and make sure these are all working. And of course they are still, because again,
So I don't think I can run these tests without having the ultimate version. But he's testing gets post.
kind of named everything the same. So I know that my API from my controller level is still working, but now we're talking to a database. So let's go back over to here and go to H2 console. And if we wanted to look at the database here, we can click on run, and we see our one run in the system.
Why one? Why one, Dan? Save. Restart. This one's just testing the logger, that's all that does. Okay. We don't have Postman open. Postman is located where? I always forget where it is. It's there. Get. Okay, it took a little while to load, but okay, that's why it's one, because when we did this here, we only had one. I wonder. See, I don't know. I'm actually not going to do that right now. since because I don't really know how that works, but okay, we did a get. We did a get. Let's try a post. It's hard to read the date or the time. Yeah, so this should be a valid post. And it says it's there. Let's do a get. Okay. Now how about a put? So this just changes the title. Okay. Well, let's do a delete. Okay. So it's working there, but then we want to test, we want to go ahead and test this. Okay.
So this is great. We've gotten one run in there, but I want to be able to get a little bit more data in there. So one thing I'm going to do is actually just come in here and comment this out.
Oh, I wonder why. Oh. Select star from run it. So what is it? Why is it only replace? Why is it only like? Because right now. Only one still? Why? Shouldn't there be... Oh no, there is only one because I deleted it. Let's put this back in there. Okay, there's two now. And also here, there's two. And there's the second one. Okay. Now what are we commenting out, Dan? I think it's this one. I'm gonna put this over here on the other screen for now. I really don't like this using one screen. I don't like using one screen. It's not my cup of tea. I just don't like it.
And actually just come in here and comment.
Yeah, so he commented this out. So it's oh, yeah, okay. But it looks like SQL comments start with dash dash, not slash.
Comment this out. And now what I want to do is find a way to kind of batch load some data in, just for example purposes, before we move on to having a little bit more fun with, say, like a real database, right? All right, so with this commented out, we're no longer going to be inserting that one record. So if we booted up our application, there would be no records in our app.
No records.
So one thing I want to do is come back to this command line runner. This is very interesting, right? Because the command line runner is something, and if we jump into it, this is a functional interface that will be run after the application has started. If you're a little bit new to Java,
He never told me to do that. What? Where are we? Oh, he's looking at the class. Command line runner.
a functional interface is an interface that has a single abstract method. So in this case, that method is run. And because it's a functional interface, it can be used as a Lambda expression. A Lambda can target this. So you don't need to create this functional run after the application has started. If you're a little bit new to Java, a functional interface is an interface that has a single abstract method. So in this case, that method is run. And because it's a functional interface, it can be used as a Lambda expression. A Lambda can target this. So you don't need to create a class that...
I don't think they taught us that in the Java course that I took, or the data structures course that used Java.
implements the command line runner and then does overrides like the run method. You can use a Lambda expression, which we are doing here. So I want to show you this example, and then we'll move on to kind of doing some batch loading. So I have this run here, but I want to save this to the database. This bean annotation, again,
Okay. This is the thing.
and is another way of creating a bean in the application context. We looked at things like at component.
So this one is different than the one that he has on screen right now. He has return args, yes. No, he does have this. Run, new run. The only thing is he doesn't have the log info. He got rid of that, I guess.
At REST controller, at repository, at service. These are ways of telling Spring, hey, this is a class that I manage. Go ahead and manage this for me. Bean is another way to create beans and put them into the application context. We're not going to go too far into that in this course, but this is one example of creating a bean. So what we're doing is we're creating a command line runner, and it will get run after the application starts. But because this is a bean, we can say, hey, part of this is I need a run repository. Go ahead and pass that instance into this bean for me. So now I can say run repository dot, and there is a create method to pass in a run and create a run from that. So let's say create, and then now we should be able to go ahead and run this. And we have an issue here, which is run controller. So let's look at our run repository. Create. So insert into.
Dan got stuck. Let's see what Dan's doing here.
Failed to execute script. This looks like it's complaining about this. That's okay. Let's go ahead and delete that. And let's run this again. And there we go. The application's
Okay. Okay. Why? Run controller. Initialization context. Huh. Run controller and run repository. Do I got a bean in here? No. But I got one here. Where's it at? No. It's in the application. Why?
Start it up, and if we remember, let's take a look here. We have this thing called first run. So we should be able to go back to the database here
Yeah, please go check
and
it.
connect to this. And if we to the database here and connect to this, and if we go to run database here, run this again. And there we go. The application started up. And if we remember, let's take a look here. We have
She all right? Why would you put her inside for right now, okay? Put her inside. I'll be right back. I better help him with the cat. Okay, we're back. I just need to figure out what's the problem. So what in the world? Hey! Cat got in here. Hey, you are not welcome in here, cat. Get out. Not allowed. Get out.
Well, that's another entrance.
So, so I was explaining this before that we moved in with our cousins, and we've been keeping the cats like basically inside. Been keeping the cats in jail, but I just can't do it to them any longer. So I just made it possible for them to get in and out, and the cat, today's the first day of that, and like in our old place, the cat is, was outside of my window and just jumped in through the window into the office. That's what she did before, yeah, but I don't want her making a mess of the office. It's already messy enough, so. Okay. We gotta figure out what's wrong with this now. Chainsaw, write your essay. Just write your essay. Don't worry about that. Okay. So I mean, this should be good. Let me try this again.
I need the scissors.
Script must not be null or empty. Oh,
I don't know.
let's just see. Okay. Oh, it doesn't want it to be empty. I need like some kind of placeholder in here. It's very confusing. Let's look at his repo. Let's look at Dan's repo. Let's look at your repo, Dan. Resources. He just literally deleted it. It's just gone. So maybe I just need to delete it. Let me just copy this in case I need it. I could have copied the whole thing. Delete. No safe delete, just delete. Rerun. This is also fine. So it's interesting how things worked out differently for him on his system. But again, he's using a different version of IntelliJ than I am, so that could be why. Alright. I think we're on the same page as Dan pretty much now.
This thing called first run. So we should be able to go back to the database here and connect to this. And if we go to run, we have our first run. So good.
So, what do you got over there? Stop playing around. Do your schoolwork. First run, it's called here.
first run it's called here. Okay. So this is on the command line runner, which is not the way we'd normally want to do it. So again, let's look at his repo. Let's look at his repo. So that has been replaced with an HTTP client, REST client, JSON placeholder. So I'm assuming this is what connects to the front end. Does this line of code connect the back end to the front end? Snippet. It's not directly. Backend integration sets up a client for making HTTP requests to an external HTTP. Backend to backend. I don't understand why. What is that for? Hopefully Dan will explain it. Where do you connect the front end to the back end in a Spring Boot application? Just through HTTP requests.
Whoa. A lot of stuff.
Backend processes each request. So basically, all we have to do is make something that sends requests to the right place. RESTful calls. Fetch them, fetch them, fetch catch. This is a GET request. So I wonder if this is how a front end does a GET request. Does that mean any front end could send requests? Is there some sort of authentication for whatever front end is making a request? authentication, authorization, and CORS. So the front end, oh, okay, so the user will log in. It's the user. So it's not any particular, hold on, let me read this authorization. So any particular user could, any particular registered user could use any could send requests if they are logged in. But what about if they are using an unauthorized app or method to send requests? Token. A legitimate app includes a bearer token. Rate limiting, IP whitelisting. Okay, so in addition to a user's token, their app or what is the word? Client or client approved app or client could be required to send a bearer token. Okay. That makes sense. API key bearer token. Alright. I'm getting lost in the sauce here. I forgot where we were at. This is running.
So we know now that this is a programmatic way that we kind of bootstrap some data. So we're going to use this as a way to insert some data that we can use in our application. But I'm actually going to get rid of this because I'm going to go ahead and do it a different way. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going
What are
to
you doing?
create a new folder here, call this
Hey,
data.
you just got here. You check on the cat while you're out there and hurry up and get back here. Be quiet.
And inside of here, I'm going to say that this is a runs.json. And we have some JSON data that we can paste in here. You can grab this from the repository. I'm going to go ahead and use that. So we're going to use this as a way to insert some data that we can use in our application. But I'm actually going to get rid of this because I'm going to go ahead and do it a different way. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder here, call this data. And inside of here, I'm going to say that this
Resources. Data.
is a runs. JSON, and we have some JSON data that we can paste in here. You can grab this from the repository, and we could say, there we go. So now we have.
Alright, let's get that. Let's go ahead and get that. Oh, and wait, what did that comment say? Still working through a lot.
We have 10 runs. And the reason I did this is so we can basically bootstrap some data. We have some data that we can work with, right? So now I want to talk about maybe how can we.
So now I finally get to see a JSON, which is basically it's just like this. It's a lot like this. It's also it's a lot like, where's the record? Is this the record? No. Where's the one where I had a record? I had a record. Yeah, it's this one. It's quite similar to this. Only these are not initialized. They're not initialized. Or it's kind of like a class. Anyway. It's like an array. It's like an array, at least this one is. Maybe I don't have to have it inside of like an array structure like it is, but hello there. This one. I'm recording right now. Yeah, you're showing off your pajamas to everybody. That's why I normally keep the door locked. And that's what I'll do right now. Oh.
we read this JSON data and insert it into the database. Now we already have the mechanism for reading and persisting data, right? We have this create method, we have a delete method. I also have a save all method that can take a list of runs and insert that. So what I'm going to do is create a new file here, and I'm going to call this my run JSON data loader. And in my run JSON loader, I'm going to implement that command line runner, because in this case, I do want a separate class to do this in, because I'm going to do a bunch of things. All right, first off, I'm going to get a logger. I have a logger to log some information with. I want to get that run repository. So I'm going to say run repository, and we'll get that through constructor injection. Again, this is dependency injection. When it creates an instance of this class, it will see that it's dependent on the run repository. Spring knows about that class. It'll
Come in and lock the door.
I tripped when I was looking for the cat on the chair.
Just go to work, okay? You've been working on that essay for far too long, sir. Go on.
I'm trying to look for the word touch in the dictionary, but I can't.
It starts with T.
Yes, I know.
Sound out.
It'll inject that into this constructor for us. And now we have a run repository that we can use, right? So in this method, now I can say, hey, run repository. The application started up. And if we remember, let's take a look here. We have this thing called first run and connect to the node. Use this so that we can paste in here. You can grab data. Maybe how this create method, we have runs and insert that. I also have data, right? We have this we can work with, right? So now I want to talk about maybe how can we read this JSON data and insert it into the database. Now we already have the mechanism for reading and persisting data, right? We have this create method, we have a delete method. I also have a save all method that can take a list of runs and insert that. So what I'm going to do is create a new file here, and I'm going to call this my run JSON data loader. And in my run JSON loader, I'm going to implement that command line runner, because in this case, I do want a separate class to do this in, because I'm
What does a dot 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 mean? What does the dot 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 mean? Variable args, var args. Variable number of arguments to a method. The method run can accept 0 or more string arguments. An array of string values. taking an array of string values. But why? Is the JSON an array of string values? An array, that's when I see an array. Are these all strings? I guess they could be. But then in the case of miles, it's going to need to be converted, and I guess it depends on what you're doing with it.
I'm going to do a bunch of things. All right, first off, I'm going to get a logger. I have a logger to log some information with. I want to get that that run.
Wants a logger. Okay. Right. How did that just happen? Private static final logger logger factory dot get logger, and it's going to be a run JSON data loader dot class. Okay.
Run repository. So I'm going to say run repository, and we'll get that through constructor injection. Again, this is dependency injection. When it creates an instance of this class, it will see that it's dependent on the run repository. Run run repository. So I'm going to say run repository, and we'll get that through constructor injection. Again, this is dependent.
Constructor injection.
Dependency injection. When it creates an instructor repository, run repository, and we'll get that through constructor injection. Again, this is dependency injection. When it creates an instance of this class, it will see that it's dependent on the run repository. Spring knows about that class. It'll inject that into this constructor for us. And now we have a run repository that we can use, right? So in this method, now I can say, hey, run repository.
I don't fully understand that yet, but I get the idea, sort of.
Dot count. So we know this is going to be 0 all the time because we are basically resetting the database when we start and starting from 0. So we know it's going to be 0, but when we move on to a real database, that's not the case, right? We don't reset a real database all the time. But in this case, it will be 0, but that's okay. We're saying if the count is 0, I want to do some things. I want to go ahead and try and load some data. And wow, Copilot on its game today. Let's see if this works.
There's a lot of typing.
Um, so we need one more thing here, which is an object map. So we need that. That will get passed in for us. This dot object mapper is equal to object mapper, right? So the reason we need that is we are basically reading in some JSON and trying to map that JSON, deserialize that into objects. And what are we trying to deserialize that into? We're trying to deserialize that into a list of runs.
I can't find it in the dictionary.
Are you serious, Jen? Silo? Touch. How? What is the second letter of touch?
No,
No.
see.
It's a vowel, not you.
Oh,
Oh. Then what? What's the third letter? How many times are you going to drop that pencil?
CPH.
Set your pencil down when you're not writing.
TOCCPH.
Almost. T-O what? What's the third letter?
C.
No. Yes. Now find it in the dictionary to get the rest of the letters. Put the pencil down. You're not writing. You're just going to drop it again on the floor. You put it over there. Now find the word in the dictionary and show me you found it. You have the first three letters. There's no way you can't not find it now. It's one of those ones that doesn't, the spelling doesn't sound like how you say it. It's like touch.
Help. Help.
So just like I have run, I'm going to create a quick record.
Like this one.
Okay, we're gonna try to do what here? We're trying to create an input stream. I don't know exactly what a type reference is, but there's a class. And we're gonna turn it into a stream. Get resources stream. So the resource is runs.json. Okay.
12. Okay. 12.
Jinsel, if you're at tour, does R... You've gone too far. You've gone too far. It's in alphabetical order, you know this.
Touchdown.
You found touchdown?
Yes.
Okay, well then you're so close.
Touch. I found touch A. I found touch A. Yes, I found it.
That's not touche, it's touche.
Touche. No. Touche. No.
What does touche mean, you tell me?
I can't find it. Used to acknowledge a hit in fencing or the success of an argument.
Touche.
Touche.
Touche. Usually you point your finger like this while you say it too.
Touche.
No, No, more like 2 shit.
I won! I won!
Not so much, but
Okay.
I guess maybe you could. How do you spell touch? You tell me.
Touch.
Say it again one more time.
Touch.
Okay. Alright. Runs. All runs equals object mapper. Oh boy, I don't know what that is. Read value input stream runs dot class. So this is what we're trying, right? I guess this is a boolean. Yes? Is this a boolean? It's not though, it just says equals. So we're just passing in this input stream. We're passing that into a try. If the run repository count is 0, which means we're starting out, we're going to try. We're going to try to set this input stream equal to this thing, and if that works, then we're going to run these. We're going to make an all runs. We're going to use something called an object mapper to read values from the input stream. We don't have a runs class. We have a run class. So that's going to be new. Yes. Or at least, I don't know why. His is red on his screen right now too. The runs class should probably be a list of runs of the run object that I have already created. Because run is just one run. It's not a list of runs. The list of runs is in here. Wait, no, it's in here. Yes, yes. Yes, no. Yes and no? Just yes. I feel like if we were setting this up from scratch, like in knowing what we were doing already, we would just start out with making that runs class in the first place. That's what I feel like. Because I think he's just doing it this way to teach how things work step by step. Alright, the next thing is a log. Log.info, we want to log something. Why? What are we logging? We're logging reading runs. What are the brackets for? From JSON data and saving to in-memory collection. The in-memory collection is runs. Yep. Okay. Comma. Not a plus, a comma. Why? I guess log allows you to pass 2 arguments.
string object. That's what we're doing. String object. I was just going to tell you what in-memory collection is, which it would be an all run. I don't know, it's all runs. You can't see where I'm putting it. All runs. But then we want dot runs. What is all runs dot runs? What does that do? I know this is going to say what is the size of it. All runs run. The size of all runs runs. How many of them there are, which there should be 10, I guess. So this bracket must stick this number in here. Reading 10 runs. I don't remember. I remember learning about, what do you call that, string interpolation in JavaScript. In Java, it was like there was some string interpolation, but most of the time I just said plus. I just put the quotes and then this cat. It's about to jump through my window again. I just put the plus and then the variable and then plus and then more quotes. Another string if needed. That's usually how I did string interpolation. I don't even know if that is considered interpolation when you just concatenate them together, but that's usually the way that I did it in Java. But it's actually easier to use the interpolation in JavaScript rather than the concatenation. Maybe it also is in Java, I just never really did it. I just like the way it looks with the concatenation, I guess, personally. Save all runs, dot runs. Okay. So we're calling the save all method in run repository. We're passing in the all runs. I'm just gonna peek out the window at this cat real quick. What are you doing, cat? She's enjoying her freedom out there. She's probably going to want to jump in my window any second, though, because she wants attention. She wants some kitty cuddles. Okay, so that's the end of this try block. Now I need to do the catch block. Catch. Whoa, why? I really need to figure out how to disable my touchpad. I/O. I'm trying to remember, like, I always think of power with I/O, but I believe I/O in both C# and Java dealt with, like, reading and writing files. And in this case, we're reading from a JSON. We have an input stream. The input stream is using the JSON file as its resource. So I/O, I seem to remember streams being a part of that.
So this could throw an exception like maybe the JSON file is named incorrectly or it doesn't exist, right? Some sort of problem reading it or creating the input stream, something like that. If that happens, we're going to throw a new runtime exception. Google thinks I'm talking to it, I guess. Message will be failed to read JSON data. Okay. That's what I thought that was meaning. What is the E for? String message throwable cause. The cause is generic. E for error, I think is why it's an E. Okay. Down here we have, not here, here we have an else. Log.info, not loading runs from JSON data because the collection contains data. What? Say what? Okay, first of all, this is an override. We're overriding which one? Public void run. From it's implementing command line runner. His object mapper is not red. His runs is red. Private final object mapper, object mapper. Well, why not? Oh, it needs to be here. This dot object mapper is equal to object mapper. Not new. It just needs to be object mapper because it's spring. But then why? It still wants me to initialize it. Lock that door. Thought it was already locked. He doesn't have an object mapper. I don't even know what it is, and why would it need to be initialized? Be careful over there, sir. I don't think we want it to be null. He doesn't have an object mapper. Let's look at, first let's see how long this video is now. We're at 3.5 hours. Probably need to take a break soon. Or at least stop the video.
very soon. Do you have an object mapper here? No. Do not. This is a JSON data loader. Data bind. Data bind. Da-da-da-da. It is here. It's here. Logger factory, type reference, command line runner. Oh, the stereotype component. Let me just do this real quick first. That didn't help. I mean, he said never do new, pretty much. Is this one of those cases where it's okay to do that, though? It's private, it's final, it's an object mapper. It's not annotated. Can we do that? That's final. This object mapper, private final object mapper, object mapper. Why I cannot resolve equals no. I don't understand. Alright. I'm gonna have to take a pause here, take a break. We'll try to figure out why, because he He's got this in
to a
here.
list of
I'll just watch it for a minute.
runs on our map object. One more thing here with, and wow, Copilot on its game today. Let's see if this works. So we need one more thing here, which is an object map. So we need that will get passed in for us. This dot object mapper is equal to object mapper, right? So the reason we need that is we are basically reading in some JSON and trying to map that JSON, deserialize that into objects. And what are we trying to deserialize that into? We're trying to deserialize that into a list of runs. So just like I have run, I'm going to create a quick record. So I'm going to call this my runs. And this will be a record, which is basically just a list
Maybe I need to have
run.
that first.
runs, right? So now I am deserializing that into a list of runs. But now run
Whoa.
runs, right? So now I am run runs, right?
Do I need that first? Is that why this is doing that? It's another record. New. How do I do that again? Okay.
So now I am deserializing that into a list of runs. Run repository all runs. Oh, do we call that some?
It looks like that's what it needed. No, because
Something different. All right. So now, again, you don't really need to know this type of code. I just thought I'd be nice to show an example of reading some data from a JSON file and inserting it into a database. You could certainly, in the command line runner that was in application.java, insert 10 records on your own and you'd be off and running. I thought this would be a good example. So.
sure it could.
Basically, we're going to read from that file, which is runs.json. If we can, we're going to try and map those to the runs record. We do a little bit of logging here to say how many runs we are loading, and then we save them all. Using that run repository, we're going to persist these off to the database. So let's go ahead.
Can I do no? No. Can I do this?
go ahead. We're going to put money the which is runs at this point inside. So now, again, you don't really need to know this type of code. I just thought I'd be nice to show an example of reading some data from a JSON file and inserting it into a database. You could certainly, in the command line runner that was in application.java, insert 10 records on your own and you'd be off and running. I thought this would be a good example. So basically, we're going to read from that file, which is runs.json. If we can, we're going to try and map those to the runs record. We do a little bit of logging here to say how many runs we are loading, and then we save them all. Using that run repository, we're going to persist these off to the database. So let's go ahead and one more thing. This class will never...
I'm not seeing that happening.
run because we haven't told Spring about it yet. So we just need to mark it with @component to say, hey, this is something I want you to be aware of.
Sources, no. It doesn't like this data mapper, object mapper. Let's no, still the same problem with that. Null pointer. Still no. Shinso, what are you doing? Find what? Jinsilo, write your essay. Trying to do what? I can't hear you.
I'm trying to find the way to walk the
Sit up properly.
It was right there, but I didn't know.
Sit up properly. I need to figure out how to initialize this object mapper properly. Figure out how to initialize this. Alright, I'm going to take another break.
this later.